you are 5 and 8, 5 and 7, 5 and 8. Very good signal. So Fox 2 Tango United.
I'm with Mike Vanderkoy, VE1AC, and today we're going to talk about ham radio. So Mike, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So Mike Vanderkoy, VE1AC, Victor Echo 1 Alpha Charlie is what we would say. And if we were calling CQ and we were making a CQ call. So I got started in the radios when I was about 12 years old. There was a neighbor gentleman who used to fly an ultralight, and inside the ultralight he had a CB radio. And he would claim to talk all around the world, particularly to people in California and Australia at the time. And I thought it was really intriguing and very exciting. So at that time I said, can you get me involved somehow? And a couple of their friends got a couple of CB radios together. They made one work. And at the time I was using my father's barbed wire fence as an antenna. That's all I had with an antenna tuner. So it was quite exciting, and I made a few contacts in the CB world. And in 1992, I was around the latter part of 18, and I wrote my test, and I became an amateur radio operator. And there was a big difference. It was known as a gentleman's club, so to speak, where you'd go there with good etiquette, you would have good manners, and you'd make contacts from all around the world. It was quite intriguing and very exciting, and definitely a step up from the CB world.
Wow, Mike, that's amazing. So, what is your favorite radio? Do you have one?
Yeah, Kenwood was my favorite radio for many, many years. My first good radio was a Kenwood. Most recently, I got rid of the Kenwood 570D, and we went for the ICOM 746. We got a great deal on it, and it turned out to be now my favorite radio. I've talked South Africa right down to Venezuela and Brazil area, and had some great contacts with it so far.
What are your top 3 favorite contacts you've made?
I think one of them was when I was a child still. I was around 13 years old, and I was able to get Australia, New Zealand, and New Caledonia, a French-speaking place. A little tiny dot on the world map there, New Caledonia. And that was probably my most memorable experience. Australia is a very fun place to talk into. But right now it would probably be New Zealand, Australia, and the most recent contact I made just last week was with South Africa. And those are some pretty fun places. And if I can get into the Philippines and some different Asian countries, that would be great as well.
Wow, that's wonderful. So, do you have any special advice for any young people wanting to become an amateur radio operator?
Tell you from my experience that I have 6 girls that are living in the house still, as you're aware of, and they've had random friends come around, and obviously they come in through the office area, the ham shack, they see my getup. Sometimes I'll invite them to the radio, show them a little bit about the radio, and they seem very intrigued. And I think that we need to do more of that, bring it into the school system again, have some special events for the youth to make them excited, because I believe it's a great sport or hobby, whatever you want to call it, and everybody should be involved in it. What would I say to them today? I would say it's far more hands-on, so to speak. You've got, people have said to me, they've challenged me and said, well, why don't you use Facebook or MSN Messenger when we had that, or ICQ or Yahoo Messenger? And I would say, well, that's great. You're guaranteed a connection if your bandwidth is allowing you to, if you've got good internet connections. Yeah, you're guaranteed a conversation without interruption. But this is a hobby, just like racing cars, those remote control cars, RC cars. Depending on how you put it together is how it's going to perform for you. The same with amateur radio. You can start off by listening in with a basic antenna and have a receiver such as one of these guys right here, or you can go and advance up and get a nice radio. It's an HF radio capable of going all over the spectrum and talk all over the world, but now you have to set your antenna up to work alongside of that radio. And so, some senior members of the Amateur Radio Club would be more than willing to help you and advise you through and help you, build your antenna or set the antenna up if you purchased a new one. there's still a lot to do. Things with SWR and, you know, your length of cable and your antenna adjustments and your gamma matches. And I think it's just never a dull moment. And then you have things like sunspots, and the weather has so much to do with our propagation. It's so much more than just picking up a microphone and saying, you know, hey, are you there? And picking up the cell phone and sending a text message. This is the real deal. There's a lot involved. Sometimes you could just set something up temporarily and have your best contact of your life. Best contact of your radio career, you know, completely unintentional, and there it was. And that's what happened last week. We just set up and co-phased 2 vertical antennas, high gain antennas, 43 foot, and another one which is about 38 feet, a homemade. We co-phased them, and our very first contact was South Africa, which we couldn't do prior with our other vertical antenna. But in this case, we were able to. So things like that are memorable. You realize that you built something really awesome. It worked. You got out there, and I think that's what's interesting with ham radio. So if you're a youth and you're listening to us right now, I would say that there's a lot of really neat things involved with amateur radio, including the science behind it, the weather behind it, the physical part of things, setting up your antennas, and then the club events and meetings where you're going to be able to meet other like-minded individuals, young and old. And I remember my daughter made a contact. She was about 16 years old, and she had the ability to be able to talk to a student in high school because it was part of their curricular activity there. And while she was in my radio room making a CQ call, she was able to talk to this individual, and she was able to get a QSL card from her and keep up a friendship. So I thought that was really cool. So there's so much more than just a Facebook Messenger notification that goes off. There's long-lasting friendships, vacation spots waiting for your arrival, to some amazing regular groups of people that you get to talk to daily. It's amazing. Give it a try.
Wow, Mike, that's so amazing. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you today. It was wonderful hearing all of what you had to say. Do you have any final last words?
Yeah, I mean, if you're wondering how you can get involved in amateur radio, you can visit our website, www.hamradiolist.com. Again, it's www.hamradiolist.com. Go to the website. There's going to be some helpful links, radio clubs in your area. You can get directly in touch with myself, Michaela, or Tasha, and any other member of Ham Radio List, and we'd be real eager to be able to work with you and get you started. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate you all.
Thank you for coming.
Victor Echo 1 Alpha Charlie.
BE1 Alpha Charlie, I think it was. BE1 Alpha Charlie, that sounds like a familiar call sign.